to the 2025 Australian Theatre Festival Artist Panel Series. This is the second of two artist panels that we've had this week. My name is Mark Barford, and together with Connor Delves, we are the co-artistic and executive directors of this festival. Thank you for joining us here on 42nd Street, and to our viewers across the world, hello and welcome. Firstly, congratulations to Madelaine Nunn on Flick. Just a little bit of background for you. Flick has been performed around the world, in Melbourne, Australia, at Adelaide Fringe, in the UK at Latitude and Edinburgh festivals, and now in New York City. Wow! It has received rave reviews and multiple awards, including the House of Purse Prize. Come on in. And this show is produced here by House of Oz, led by the incredible Georgie Black, and Mad Nunn Productions. And we're thrilled to be presenting it here in New York as part of our festival. So please welcome Madelaine Nunn to New York. Is this your first time here?
This is my second time. It would be a better story if it was my first time.
First time performing?
Yes, first time performing. Yeah.
So what inspired you to come up with this piece initially, and what do you hope the audience will take away from the show?
Yeah, it's always a great question. I always feel like I struggle with questions about my work, but I've had this for many months, years, so now I feel like I've answered this question a few times. I wrote this as like a 10-minute piece in COVID, actually, of course. I'm sorry to bring it up. But there was actually like a British audio storytelling thing that I happened to find on a podcast, and it was just like 10-minute excerpts of like almost monologues that you just listen to, and I thought anyone could enter, so I wrote one. And then that was like, no, British people only. So then I was like, okay. So then anyway, I just had a 10-minute like piece about the unfairness. It was from a character, a nurse's perspective, and I was interested in irony, and it was just about the unfairness of life and death. Like some young people can die, and some people who smoke cigars all their life and drink all their lives can live until 90. And I just thought like there's something in like what does it do to healthcare workers? Anyway, that's what it was. So I had this 10-minute character piece sitting there, and then I was getting married. Now stay with me. And it was a couple of months, like about a month out. I say 2 weeks because the story is better, but I actually think it was a month. And a director friend of mine in Sydney was like, oh, this theatre company is doing a funny female playwright award. You're a funny female playwright. You should write a play. And I was like, I'm getting married in a month, and I didn't have any plays. Sometimes you have some stuff in the cupboard that you can just be like, okay, I can take that out. But I just didn't have anything that was appropriate. And I said, no, I can't. I'm getting married. And then I went and saw Dorian Gray, which I don't know is a one-person show that is the story of Dorian Gray. And I was sitting there watching it, and I know this is a strange show to come away from and say, actually, I thought, I can't write a show with multiple characters because that just right now that takes so much like logistics and planning about what scene happens next. But I think if I could do something from the perspective of one character, I think I could get this done in the deadline for that funny female playwright. So after seeing Dorian Gray, the most complicated show in the world, I was like, maybe I could do that. I think there was also something else going on that I was getting married and I didn't want to devote my time to like dealing with wedding stuff because it's very overwhelming. So I was like, I can't think about that. I have to lock myself in the room and write this show. So where did this show come from? It started as a character piece. I never wrote it for me, actually. I don't know why, even though I am an actor. I just was, at the time I was younger. So I think I wrote it for someone who was a bit older. And then I had this deadline and I was looking at this character piece, and then irony was the beginning, obviously. But then I thought, what happens to the healthcare workers if they have to shut themselves off from not getting too connected every time someone dies or something happens? What happens to them if that happens to them in their real life and then they can't really access it because they're so used to being like, I can shut things down? So then I started, writing, and I really like flawed characters, obviously. Then that's what spurred it on, this character that can't grieve herself, but prides herself on being like an amazing palliative care nurse that can like connect, but then disconnect, connect, disconnect. And it's like the toll of care, I guess. That's like, what does that do to a person? And you know, it's not just nurses, it's doctors, it's like ambulance officers, it's, you know, any first responder. I think there's, how does that interaction in your professional life manifest in a personal setting? You asked me 2 questions, but I'm not sure which one I answered.
No, you did very well. So you got married.
I got married. Oh, and then they decided not to give the award.
Okay, well, you won
Yes,
the first prize anyway.
I won the first prize, but Georgie Black saw it.
Exactly.
That's all I needed.
So I guess I'm curious about what happened after that. So you wrote the play, you got married, and then how did the production come to be? And who was involved in that phase?
Yeah, good question. So yes, I wrote that. I got married in 22. So that's how many years we're talking. So I had the play in 22. And then I was nervous. I was like, oh, I have a theatre company where I write with 2 other actor writers, and we have produced and performed a lot of work that we write for ourselves. But I'd always done that in a group. Our theatre company is called Three Birds Theatre, and it's always about female stories because we're female actors, and we're writing work for ourselves, which is, you know, what you have to do. And then I think there was this program at La Mama Theatre, and there's a La Mama in New York actually. The sister La Mama in Melbourne does this thing called explorations, and you can just put a show on for 3 nights and explore. Usually people just like have a single idea, like it's about a woman and a drink bottle, and then they'll like figure it out in the explorations. But I'd obviously written the script, and I used it as an opportunity to just like fully do a full production on stage and get collateral like photos and state and production shots. And then once I did that in Melbourne, which scared me a lot, because it's all me. Like, I've written it and it's me up here, so if you don't like it, it's probably you don't like me. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, but I essentially bullied all my friends and family to come. And so I sold out the 3 nights, but I'm pretty sure it was just my network of people. And people were like, this is actually good. So then I had a show on in Sydney. This is very long. I'm sorry, I tend to give too much detail. I had a different show on in Sydney called Sitting Screaming, another solo show again. And then there was a grant for Adelaide Fringe that was closing, and a friend of mine was like, you should really do it for Adelaide. And I was like, I'm tired. And then I was like, oh, I have this dog in me. So I was like, I have to do it. So while I was in rehearsals, I was on lunch break, and I frantically applied for this grant to get me to Adelaide. And because I'd done, you know, the detail before about doing explorations and actually making it really worthwhile and getting the production shots, getting my hero image, which is the one you see, meant that when I applied for the grant, I had so much collateral, which meant it's much stronger application. I don't know what grants are like here, but it was like ready to go, and I had a few reviews as well. So then I got the grant for Adelaide, and then I was like, crap, I need to find a venue. And then I got the venue, and I just did a very limited season in Adelaide, like 5 nights. And Georgie happened to come to my opening night, so I'd only done the show like 4 times, or maybe 5 by that point. It's in the detail. And yeah, Georgie loved it. And at first I was like, who is this person reaching out to me? Because this seems so flamboyant and laissez-faire. I've done a lot, I'm very active, but just because this was so like, oh, I guess I'll do it. I met with Georgie, and when she said, I want to take you to Edinburgh, I was like, what? Like, I don't understand, like, don't compute in my head. Because people don't usually just like something and then believe in it and then give you the opportunity to do it. You have to like run circles, and I don't know. So it was like, what is this experience? And then I got given the first prize, and it really did set this on this trajectory of international touring, which has been like incredible. Yeah. So thank you so much, Georgie Black, who's sitting in the front.
Thank you to Georgie, but also thank you to that dog in you. So you get to Edinburgh. Before you go to Edinburgh, do you make any changes? And you've now performed in 3 countries. Are you considering the local audiences? Are you making any changes based on the country you're performing in? Or is it the same?
Yeah.
And how are they reacting?
Yeah, good question. Well, for the most part, I don't change it because it's set in Australia. like I did at one point say, and I did this last night as well, Joe has a tinny of VB every lunchtime, and that, I was like, do you know what that is? In Scotland, they like tinny, I understand, context clues, that's like a beer, but they didn't know what VB is. It's Victorian bitter. It's quite like a salt of the earth person drink.
Kind way of saying it.
Yeah. And so they didn't understand it, so I changed that to beer. And Vinnie's is obviously specific. I called it an op shop at the beginning, which is what you'd say in Australia. But then I changed it to charity shop, which I made those changes here today. But really, only tiny bit of vernacular. Like even when I was in Edinburgh and I was doing a bit of like just chatting with the locals, going like, "Do you understand this? Do you get this?" One person was like, "Oh, you should. This is a really specific Scottish beer, you could say, and everyone would know that." Then I was like, "But then that's this random Australian drinking a Scottish beer." Like, I was like, I think for the most part, I think specificity is good, and like for example, I love Dairy Girls, which is a strange reference, but it's like because it's so specific to them. I understand what's going on. I don't need to go. They use a different word, and I think for the most part, context clues will get you there.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is no.
We talk about this a lot. We've been doing this for 6 years, and we prefer to not change for an American audience. We also think Netflix and those kinds of things have really introduced American audiences to the Australian vernacular. So we're in favour of keeping it as it's written and people learning what those words mean, asking those questions. So
yeah, exactly.
Great,
so,
amazing.
Yeah. One.
So Maddie, you perform all across the world. You do UK, it's a smash hit, Summer Hall. This summer, I saw it there, we both did, and loved it there. And now you're here on 42nd Street, Theatre Row. How does it feel to perform it here in New York?
Yeah, it's quite surreal, to be honest. Again, as I said at the beginning of the year, this year was meant to be a break year. Which I'm so glad it wasn't, because this is always the way. It's fantastic. I was saying, like, with the energy of the I was walking here after my C train had severe delays, and I was like, oh my god, I've got to get to the theatre. I was like, excuse me, I'm a performer. Yes, I legged it to the 2, and I was like, wow, like, look at me, this walking in the city. And I was like, you just have to take the energy with you. I mean, it's like anything, you have to yes and it. And like the energy is incredible and it's crazy. But it's so cool, and performing here is again so different to Summer Hall. To have the space to myself is almost like a luxury, because in Summer Hall it's 15 minutes in and out, and often the people behind me, like before me, were a bit late. And and the people after me would come in 5 seconds after I'd finished, because all they had was a stool. So it's so beautiful, and this theatre is incredible, and also the staging is interesting here. I remember I spoke to a comedian at Latitude, which was another thing about these festivals, which is so brilliant, is that you get to be with a big network, and you get to network very softly. Networking is terrible. Like, you have to be in a foyer and talk to people that you're like, what are your intentions with my daughter? Like, it's all very like odd, but it's nice to be able to go to a festival and sit down opposite someone and just eat some eggs and be like, yo, what do you do? And they're like, I'm a comedian, and you just chat, and you don't have any like, what am I trying to get from you? But a comedian said to me he did really well previous year. I can't remember his name, but he did really well at Edinburgh. Like, he got a bunch of awards, and he said, just people, because I said, what's your advice? I've never been. And he was like, just perform to the space you're in. Like, don't go take the previous space with you. So like, if I entered this space and I tried to do what I did at Summer Hall, it's quite different, because you guys are actually very far away, even though you're close. Summer Hall, I was like people were here, and I could really connect. Well, I actually can't see you up here, so it's actually really great for me as an actor to like be able to work the muscle of what this space brings. And it is cool to be on a stage that is a theatre, because in Summer Hall it's all non-conventional theatre spaces, which is incredible in its own right. Like, I love performing in different places, and I performed at Latitude in a 400-seat tent. So and the audience started at the door. So that was, again, I had to be like huge with my body just to communicate. But it's really beautiful. It's super special. Like, I don't think I can still quite process it. I don't think I process things until like after it's happened, which maybe that's most people. But yeah, it's so wonderful, and thank you so much for bringing it out here. Honestly, it's incredible.
You're quite well versed versed now in festivals. I mean, you've done different stages, different audiences all around the world. What does it mean to artists like yourself to perform at a festival?
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think, again, you're just getting audiences that have no idea about your work. It's hard, I think, when you stick in an insular sort of city, if you're in Melbourne or Sydney, you just get the same whole people, and like, yeah, that's great. Obviously, we want to build an audience, but I think it's really great to just be able to see actually how other people in other countries respond, and is it working? Like, does it work for a New York audience? Does it work for a music festival audience? And yeah, as a performer, I think my goal every time was to be present, and then before every show, I do 2 words or 3, depending how cheeky I'm feeling, and just to focus on every performance. So I think, and the festival, so I wasn't really answering your question. I just think, yeah, back to the networking thing, just to be amongst the other people. Like, I saw 45 shows at Summer Hall, at Edinburgh, but mainly at Summer Hall because they were free. But yeah, and that was just so cool. I mean, I can't remember any of them, but it was brilliant to just be like, wow, that's how you make work, and what's different in Melbourne, and what's the flavour of the month, or the flavour of theatre. Like, what are people doing? What are people not doing? Yeah, it's really cool.
When you've had 2 sold out shows to start here, and the audiences were wild. You're amazing today, last night similarly amazing.
Yeah.
How have you found the reaction's been different in different countries?
Yeah, it's because I've done the performance so many times. It's like every night is different, and some quieter audiences, I'm like, oh, obviously I need your buy-in for you to understand. Like, I think this character makes bad decisions. I think we can all agree. But there's a reason behind that. You know, she's struggling, and I think even though sometimes audiences are different, varying like volume. Like, sometimes they're very vocal. Like, even once in Summer Hall, a girl was like curled up in the front row near when the ending is happening, and she was like writhing and screaming, which was very funny. Like, cause she was like so in it. I like clocked her, and then I was like, I can't look at that woman. I'm too present. Like, I'll clock her. But you can never tell what's going on for an audience. You've got to connect with them and get their energy, but not judge it. Because I think my friend and I always say, you can't hear a smile. And it's not like it's laugh out loud, like ha ha comedy. It's amusing / hopefully relatable. So I think, yeah, every audience, I mean, always in the blackout after she gets her keys cut, there's always audible gasps, which is a personal delight for me. And I think if it doesn't happen, that blackout will be quite awkward. But it has always happened, so that's a consistency between everyone. Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Excellent response. Thank you. Shall we hear from these folks out here?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so we're going to open it up to you now if you want to ask any questions of Madelaine. Have we got any questions out here?
Okay. So we go to ADA, the American Academy. So my question was, how did you physicalize the moments and like the beats for yourself? Because you make it a very physical world and you create that world, and like I feel like we could all see that and like that imagery, and like I just like saw it all without you know, anything on the stage. So I just was curious how you physicalize that for yourself and the different people and just that kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I'm quite a physical performer.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a gymnast back in the day. Not very good. My husband's like, no, you're not. And like, I was a gymnast, as a gymnast. No, I think, how did we start? Yeah, I wrote it, and I have a director, Emily O'Brien Brown, and she's super actory.
Mm-hmm.
I went to drama school, but I would say I don't know, I wasn't that actory. I just was more, my drama school was, I was very fortunate. A lot of people have different experiences of drama school, but I loved it. They beat you down, but yeah, I didn't mind that. But we had a theatre making element part of our drama from Robert Walton, who used to work at the Con in Scotland. And so yeah, I was always more focused on making so then my director is very like actor focused. Like she's got very much like, I don't know, lots of techniques that I don't even know the name. I did at drama school, but no one told us names. And so we just really looked at the script, and it's weird because I wrote it again, not for me, so I just wrote it, and then we have to look at the scripts for answers. And I'm like, don't look at the script. Like I don't know, is it in the script? And so I guess I pulled all the characters apart. Actually today my word was honoring all characters. Because sometimes, I've done the show so many times I don't want to autopilot, but looking at all characters and their relationship to Flick, and then spatially, I guess we just placed things and then returned to them. And like we did a lot of improv, like the running backwards, we just put on music and we did Ben. It's like we just explored. It's called a shooting. It was called a shooting at my drama school. I don't know if that's even a word, but where you just like dim the lights and put on music and say lines and connect with things outside that aren't on stage, like the actual death, like doing it, physicalizing it, embodying it in rehearsal, so that when you're on stage, there is a physical lived experience in you. Just improvising a bunch, which is, and you're there when you I've got to go. Was also my director. No one's getting paid a couple of years ago, so we only rehearsed for like a week, if that. So we had probably 5 days of rehearsal. So when you're running around on stage being like, you're like, we need to start staging. But that stuff is actually really important, even though it sounds a bit woo-woo and you have to, roll around for a bit. So I guess looking at each individual character for who they are and actually it's a lot of work. You have to think about why are they saying this and who are they, and like Connor was saying that this is different again from when you saw it in Edinburgh character-wise, because when I was on stage I was like, oh wait, this is my show, I can do whatever I want. So I would just play around with different characters, giving them different, like Mullet Man used to be quite different, and now I've made him like almost like stoner a little bit. So I just try to give in circumstance all the characters about where they're coming from, and just making it, because it's just me, does this work for an audience, like where I'm placing things, so that we have a shorthand.
Great.
Sorry, that's really long.
No, it's perfect.
Any other questions? Yeah, Ben.
Hi Maddie, first of all, congratulations. I really enjoyed the decision for your character to sort of end the story with her own experience of her loved one, of Ben dying, and then coming back into the hospital or the palliative care facility. And I was wondering, I'm interested in why you felt like that was the more important ending, rather than ending with the relationship that she'd established with Red Velvet Cupcake Man.
Mark is a red herring. He is what we would call a MacGuffin. I didn't write with this intention, like Mark is the MacGuffin. He's not important, and so why did I return? I'll answer your question. I returned to the hospital because life returns. Life keeps going. And even yesterday I was talking to my partner about, like, do we need Joe at the end? And I was like, yeah, we do, because we need to know there's hope, and like again, it's that sort of injustice, like some people can just keep hanging on. So I think I wanted to return to a place where she could breathe a bit. I mean, it still hurts, obviously, but she's back and she's there and she can breathe. And there's a cycle of returning to work and to normalcy, and that's what happens when people die. No one else stops. The train, the lights, they keep going. So I returned to that to just be like, life keeps going. And Red Cupcake Man, like, there was actually, in terms of what's different, in Adelaide, I did return and he was still alive, Mark. And I said, he moved upstate. what the hell? I said, up north. Sorry. I'm so adaptable. No, I said he moved up north to die on his property. And my auntie was like, that was crap. After the first day, after my opening, I said, how'd you like it? They were like, wow, you could cry on stage. And then they were like, yeah, she said, that's crap. And she kept saying, that's crap, over and over again. And I heard her. I was like, okay, like, tell me. I went to drama school, by the way. So I'm not put off by that. And she said, we don't need to know. We don't need to know. And it actually has never been about Mark. Because I remember someone was like, I was watching and we were quite far in and there was no relationship or anything yet. And I was like waiting for the relationship. And it's because he asks her to go to his house. He is just like this escape. And it's not, she never crosses like a physical or intimate boundary with him. It's obviously his house, which is the escapism from her apartment. And it never has anything to do with him. It's just this fantasy that she kind of gets caught up in. And so, why was I speaking? I cut that, realizing it was never about Mark. And maybe it's insinuated that he has died, but he's just not there, you know. It doesn't matter. Like, it's never been about him. So that is why I returned to the hospital. I'm cutting myself off. Tangential, but yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
So Maddie, you've got tonight, you've got tomorrow matinee. What's next for the show?
Well, then we're headed to Washington, D.C. Which is going to be so interesting. We're performing for the embassy in a non-traditional space, so that will be different again. But I realised I've actually toured so much in regional Victoria. Even I was like, wow, the bathroom's really clean here. And it's because I'm used to being in regional Victoria where they're like, sorry, the cupboard with the brooms, that's what you'll be getting changed. So it's exciting to take that to, I guess, public servants, if you can call them that. Politicians, I suppose. So it's going to be really exciting. It's so exciting. We're going. What did you say?
Arts lovers.
Arts lovers. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I grew up in Newcastle and I had absolutely zero exposure to the arts, and my family are not arts people by any means. So I try to make work that isn't for the artistic elite. I try to it's really important to me that we get people in, and we're not trying to just make it too intellectual. And we had a Spanish director when I was at VCA where I studied, and he was incredible, but his name was Julian Fuentes Brita, and he had a thing, we did Cloud Street, and he said, political theatre hits the heart just as much, if not more than the head, because you can intellectualize things, but things have to hit you to stay with you, and that's what story is. And I think, no one asked me this, but I'm telling you, that's why I make work like this. And so hopefully, where is it going next? Producers, put it on.
And where can everyone find you?
On my socials, or in Melbourne. But I also have an Instagram. You can find me at Mad Nunn Productions, should know that, or my personal Madelaine Nunn. I also have a theatre company called Three Birds Theatre that I run. So I have a few theatre companies.
Wonderful. And you can check out all of that on our socials as well. We tag Maddie and House of Oz in everything we post. So if you want to go on there, follow, take a photo of your program today. It's all helpful, both for Maddie, for the show, and for both of our companies. So thank you, Maddie, for being here. Thank you all. There are still some tickets available for the rest of our program. We've got 2 cabarets on tonight at Green Room 42, 1 Avenue across. Maddie's also on tonight. We have a community party at 8:15 at the Green Fig, which you don't need a ticket for. And Maddie closes us out here in New York with a matinee tomorrow before we head to DC. So please spread the word about the festival. Community is the most important part about spreading the word. It's great to have some Americans in, some people from all across the world, as well as Australians. We're at Oz Theatre Fest. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of the festival.